Hi, my name is Jacob Sapochnik, and I'm an immigration attorney in San Diego, California. In this video, I wanted to talk about how to get a green card through an employer-sponsored petition. Now, most people who are here on a work visa are aspiring to get their employers to petition for their green card. And in this video, I'm going to give a quick overview with some very important tips as to how this process works and what is the most efficient way to go through this process. The green card process to employment requires the employer to prove to the government that the hiring of the foreign national is not going to affect the labor of current available U.S. workers. That is why they have to go through a process called a labor certification, or also known as Perm. This is the new way to do this process. The labor certification requires the employer to go through a process of testing the market, the labor market. The way they do it through a process of advertising. And so I have a chart here behind me that shows the whole process. And we're starting basically with the Perm process, the labor certification. And that process basically is the first step where a person on an H visa or any other visa that is currently working for the employer will require the employer or ask the employer to start the Perm process. Now this is a future position. So currently you're working for the employer on an H visa or any other visa, and the green card process is a future position. This is something that the employer requires to show that once you get approved, then they will comply with all those conditions, the wage or any other thing. So as we go through the Perm process, the first step is the employer has to file a prevailing wage. They file a prevailing wage so we can get the wage that the Labor Department feels, or based on their requirement, that the employer must pay you. That wage is different than your H-1B wage if you have an H-1B visa at this point. Once the wage certification comes back, that's when the whole process starts. That's when we have to start advertising the position, putting together the ads with the minimum requirements that the position that the employer requires. That's when the recruitment steps will begin. We do not recommend to start recruitment or use any old recruitment steps before the wage certification has come back. Otherwise, the Labor Department may create issues or an audit in the future asking why everything started before the wage certification came through. So once you have the wage certified and you have your ads created and all the different recruitment steps, typically for a professional position, we need 2 Sunday ads, we need a website advertising, we need, for example, something to be put on an employer's website or through a recruiter's website. There are many steps in the process. Once all that has completed, typically it takes about 2 months to go through the advertising process. The employee has to wait 30 days, and then they file the Perm labor certification. And these days, those applications can go anywhere from 2 months or up to 6 months, depending if there's an audit or not. Once the labor certification has been approved, then the employer can file the application with the U.S. Immigration Service. So this part of the process, we are with the Labor Department, DOL. This is the DOL. And here we are with USCIS. So the Labor Department, once they have certified the petition, now we can take that petition and use that with our Immigration Department. Now if you notice here, I have 2 lines in my chart. One called EB2 and one is EB3. EB3 and EB2, they are sections of law depending on the person's qualifications. Typically, EB3 applicants are those that hold at least a bachelor's degree and they have up to 5 years of experience, or the position requires a position with a bachelor's with less than 5 years. The EB2 is what we call an advanced degree. Persons that hold a master's or a higher degree, or if they don't have a master's, they have a bachelor's degree with 5 or 7 years of experience. If you qualify under the EB2 category, typically your process will go faster. If you are not a person from India, China, the Philippines, where those categories are backlogged, they're slow, we look at the visa bulletin to see where a visa is available. If you're not from one of those countries, then if you go with the EB2 category, your green card process will go much faster. You don't have to wait for a visa to be able to file for an adjustment of status. That's why I showed that the I-140, the immigrant petition, and the 45, the adjustment of status petition, can be filed concurrently. And this way, when the process is done, you're going to be able to get the green card in less than 2 years. If you are a person that qualifies under the EB3 category, in the sense that either your job requires that or you don't qualify education-wise, whether you're from India or China or Philippines or any other country, right now there's a backlog, which means that right now the visa is not available, which means you have to go into a waiting line to wait for your visa category to be available, which means that you can only file the I-140, the immigrant petition, to qualify the position. And then when your visa category is current, only then you can file for your 45 adjustment of status. Therefore, it's important early enough in the process right here to be able to decide whether you are going to be filing as an EB2 or as an EB3. Because if you don't make that determination early enough in the process, it will have severe consequences at the end. Once again, it's very important to plan the process carefully from the start to determine whether that you, as an applicant, going to be in EB2 or EB3 category, working with the employer and their attorney to make that process, make that planning early on in the process. All in all, the labor certification and the I-140-45 is the current way to be able to get a green card, permanent residency through an employer. This is pretty much the way to do it these days. So our recommendation is to really carefully plan the process from the start to know what are the minimum requirements of the employer. The employer needs to really understand, planning that with their attorney. We wish you all the best in the labor certification and green card process. If you have any questions about this video or the labor certification process, feel free to visit our website or give us a call. Thank you for watching.